Hello, my name is Michael Ramos, and I have been in the real estate world for, my entire life. My family and I have done it all and seen more from real estate sales, construction, and property inspections. And in all this time, what fascinates me the most about this industry are the people and how they changed their dreams into realty success.
This program is brought to you by City Home Inspectors, your one-stop shop for all your home inspection needs.
All right, hello everybody, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of From Dreams to Realty Success, where we share inspiring stories of the top achievers of the real estate industry. Today we have Alfanso Valencia.
Hi, how are you?
Alfanso is a real. Hey, Alfanso, how you going? No problem. Alfanso is a realtor at Keller Williams and has been licensed for 16 years. He's known for his skills in purchasing multifamily and luxury properties. Thank you, Alfanso, for taking the time to speak with us today. I know it's kind of hectic out there right now with the market.
Yes.
So we really do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So I do have a little segment here, that we like to add in. I have a letter from Baxty. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, Baxty is my mother, and she's also the owner of City Home Inspectors, and she studies the market thoroughly and everybody in it. And this is what she had to say about Alfanso. Alfanso Valencia appears to have a niche for luxury homes and multifamily. I have watched him help buyers in these types of transactions. Super professional and very knowledgeable about his market and the home inspection process. During inspections, he is always present, and he walks the clients through the process with every step of the way. Clients leave with a good understanding of their purchase. So yeah, that's awesome. What Baxi had to say about you.
That's always a nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to jump right into it then. So I want to go back 15 years in the past and kind of know, what were you doing before you got into real estate?
Oh man, that's a good question. So before I became a licensed realtor, I used to help one of my uncles that he manages a lot of his own personal property. And I was basically his runner. I was involved with helping with, taking care of leases with him and understanding how to make a lease, picking up rents. You name it, pretty much anything in management with rental management. So I really got my feet wet before I got licensed to understand just the investment side of property. So I was very fortunate that my uncle took me under his wing, and I really understood more the management side of real estate. And that's what I was doing right before my license. But before that, I was a salesperson. I think I've always been a salesperson for big construction, like lifts, scissor lifts and cranes and stuff like that. So I used to help out with actually projects like in Puerto Rico and Colombia, Mexico. I was a salesperson for them, and it was a company I worked with that was called Lizzie Lift. But that was, oh man, it's been a long time. Now I feel old talking about it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then you already were pretty much in the construction and pretty much kind of in the real estate world already from the beginning.
Yeah,
basically from your first couple jobs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a different perspective, and you have a different understanding of what you're looking at, because it's just not the same. As an agent, you understand it on a different level, right? So it's just different perspectives that you have of maybe the same, like you said, in the same whole, meaning it's still real estate related, but it's very different on what I'm doing now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, then I could see that too. Like I know we spoke a little bit earlier that you took the home inspection course, correct?
Yeah, so I took it early on, just because that's just my brain is always thinking that you need to know. You always want to know and stay with the most current knowledge and understanding the house more on the technical side I felt was going to be important for me as an agent and as a salesperson, because I could really guide a client in saying, hey, not only do I know the home, just the finance and the transaction side, but now on a physical level, I understand the home better. So that really helped me, just my own personal. And for my clients, I felt like it really gave them a push, because that's a very common conversation I would have with them I wouldn't mention it, but they were very pleased to know that I knew more than just the transaction side of a real estate or a home.
Got it. Yeah. So, that's actually something that that Baxi, my mother, did as well when she got licensed. You know, she was from the corporate world. She really didn't know too much about construction. So she got licensed, and she's like, man, how am I going to sell a house when I don't know what a house entails? So she went and she took the course, and she didn't get licensed or anything. She just took the course for the knowledge. So that is always something that, yeah. And then it's really cool that you got to see the construction side, and then you got the light. So then you have the financial side, and then you also have the inspection side. So you kind of like well-rounded yourself to know every aspect of it. So that's smart. That's what I think everybody should do that.
Well, I think it was just luck. I don't think if someone would have told me that's what I was going to do, I wouldn't have believed them. But the construction side, it was, very, very, in the very beginning when I was a salesperson, I was very involved with just being in the office. It wasn't like on-site construction type of thing. But yeah, absolutely. It did help me out at the end, now that I look back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny how the stepping stones just fall into place, huh?
It is.
Mm-hmm. So we want to go back into your beginning years of becoming a realtor. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us any of your failures that you had when you were first starting off?
Yeah, definitely. I would say in the beginning, again, because I was lucky that my uncle had me under his wing, I got in the market when everything was burning and crashing. This was 2007, the middle of 2007, roughly. And I remember him telling me, "Hey, kid, you don't know what you're getting yourself into." And there was a lot of push from him, like, "Hey, don't do this. Maybe you should consider other things." I was looking at architecture at the time, like to actually continue moving forward with school and finish architecture. But I think that helped me, though, because I leaped off the cliff and just saying, well, I'm going to try it out. I think I'm a good salesperson, and I'm going to try it. Right. This is, in my eyes, I actually saw it as a value, because if the market was so bad, then this is the time to get in it, so that I know that I'm going to see the worst part of it. And I mean, right now I have a beard, but at the time I looked like a 12-year-old. If I could find the old business card, I look back and I'm like, how was I even selling property with a face like a 12-year-old? So I literally started with door knocking. My uncle was very clear on it. Like, there is no magic bullet. There is no magic gimmick. You have to meet people, talk to people, and, have them trust you with the conversation. So I literally started from where my office was at the time, was on 26th Street and Euclid in Berwyn. I literally took that same block and I just kept going in a straight line. So I think I went 5 blocks north, then I went, 5 blocks east, and I just door knocked. And that's how I started getting clientele. And just, I guess people were like, oh, here's a young kid again coming to my door. And they were nice enough to say, oh yeah, I have a buyer, or you know what, my mom is thinking of selling. And that's how I got involved with selling real estate.
Nice. Okay, cool. And then what about one of your major successes? What is one deal that you just knocked out of the park?
That's another good question. Let's see. A big one. I mean, we had a good one. I guess sales price, I don't think sales price is as important to me. It's more what I can do for my client, because I mean, yes, I've sold properties for, 1.2 million. I've sold as less as 35,000. So I don't think the sale point is really what gets me. It's more the situation with the client. And I had one client in particular, that actually a couple clients, but this one in particular, it's still stuck in my head and I have it on my office. He walked into the closing table with $100. His down payment was $100. And it wasn't a gimmick. It was just, I always try my best to put the client first on finding a grant program that's going to help them with the purchase. So in this particular case, he fell perfect with a grant program that was available for free money. And then on top of whatever I was able to get from the seller. So when he walked in with the lender, we wanted to give him the surprise there, and he shows up, and he brought, I think it was like $4,000 to the table, and then we're like, oh, we only need $100, and he was looking at me, he's like, what? He's like, yeah, you only need $100. That's all you need. So to me, that was a nice thing to know, that someone was able to make their first purchase of a home, and they walked in with thinking a perception of what they were going to put down, and then they literally paid for a dinner. That's what it was, right? They just paid for a dinner. So
Wow.
that to me has been, I think, a really nice feeling. I've liked to see my clients also that purchased very cheap or risk taking purchases where they could make money on them, and they make money. I always like to see my clients be successful with their purchases in real estate or their sales, and that's been my biggest motivation for me. It's more the clients, how they go through the process. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then I kind of noticed that with with the inspections that you've called us for and everything like that, you tend to gravitate towards more like multifamily property or big luxury property. Can you tell, like, and you kind of like touched on that a little bit. You like to see your clients succeed. Can you tell us a little more of, do you kind of push your clients into that direction for multifamily, or do you do they just come to you that way?
I think it's a little of both. I really, how can I put it? I want to make sure that they look at other door or options available, instead of, I feel like sometimes we agents have already like a fixed idea of what we should do or how to motivate or basically navigate a client for a transaction. If I have a client that's never purchased before, and we really sit down about what their needs are, their wants, and their future goals, if in conversation they say, I do want to own an investment property at some point, and they've never purchased before, I explain to them why there's a big value on buying your first property as a multifamily. Just because you could get a lot of the benefits of FHA buyer can, if you're going to live in the home, you could still take advantage of an investment. So ironically, I think it also has to do with the generation that I'm involved with, as far as a purchasing wise. Average age tends to be between 23 to 35 years old. Most of them just got out of school, or they're barely starting to get serious about maybe getting married or maybe having children. So if they still have another 5 years before they're involved with having a family, I generally do recommend that they look at an investment first, because I look at my perspective. My first property, I purchased it when I was, I think I was 23, 22. It was an investment property as well. And, that opened up my eyes. And this was, again, from my uncle that I owe him a lot. He advised me, like, always try to buy an investment property, buy your first property as an investment, and have your tenant pay for your mortgage. So it was awesome to have a property, and then you look at it and the numbers make sense, and you're living for free. And people think I'm crazy, but it's like, there is a system to it. There is a way to make it, and there's a way to evaluate the property if it's worth it or not as an investment. Because at the end of the day, we all have to live somewhere, right? So the way I come to them is I explain that the value is, how much is your time and effort into where you live worth to you? Is it worth more than what a normal mortgage would look like? Or would you rather live a little bit freer by having someone else pay a portion of your mortgage, and you could still live your normal lifestyle that you want? Some people like to vacation. I have a couple clients that they go out of state maybe twice a month. So they Airbnb while they're gone. So it's always a win-win for them that they use it as an investment property, instead of just looking at it as a single family. Not that you can't do it with a single family, it's just a little bit harder, but you can. And that's why I think I tend to steer more with investments, multifamily properties, because they tend to have that goal for the long run, that they want to have an investment, where if they bought their single family first and they try to buy an investment later on, they got to put 25% that time around. So it's a lot more money to buy that same investment that they could buy way cheaper in the beginning. Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. Okay. So we did speak a little bit about the benefits of owning a multifamily home. Can you talk about some of the cons, some of the negatives that can come with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So The negatives definitely have to do with being good about how to pick and be patient on your tenants. That's a big one for me because tenants, I mean, some people will pick a tenant within the first week and, hey, you're interested in my unit, go ahead and rent it. And then you have the hiccups that come with that. So the negatives with investment properties definitely is that, yes, you have double the trouble. You have double the bathrooms, double the kitchens and everything else. So it is responsibility. There is more risk involved. But because I've been doing it already, and I would say since I was 18, I was already dealing with apartments. It never really scared me. But I would say the negative with that is that if someone tells me, "Hey, I don't, I don't like to repair anything. I don't do anything. I like my privacy," then I'm not going to navigate them towards an investment because that's probably not their best choice. They don't probably want to deal with the headaches that may come with an investment. So I would say the negatives to that is that there's just more involved with an investment property than single family, which ironically, single family, you're still going to do repairs to it, but not again twice the amount, right? 2 kitchens, 2 bathrooms, 2 different living spaces. So that is more work basically. But like the saying goes, if you don't risk it, you don't get the biscuit, right? Or it's part of it. There's high risk, but there's high reward as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Great. That's good information. So, what would you kind of say to anybody that's like a newly licensed realtor that's trying to get some skin in the game? Any advice out there for any new guys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously with that question is because you also know that right now the market has been really strong. And there's been a huge influx of new agents. And that tends to show a pattern when there might be a slowdown coming. When 2007 came and, by 2009, we had lost, I think, more than half of the real estate agents in the market. And right now, I think I don't want to be quoted on this 100%, and we could look at the numbers before, but I think it's over 1 million agents, I think nationwide, that are licensed. And that's all-time high right now. And that shows that the market is really strong because you have a lot of people now considering becoming an agent. And that becomes because there might be some flashy agents out there that really want to show their money, and you right away you're attracted to money. My best advice to incoming agents is humble yourself, work hard, don't get stuck on, right now, if you're making good money, it's probably very true that you could make money off the bat as soon as you get licensed, but there's cycles. So at least at this point, because I've gone through 2 cycles, right? The pandemic cycle, and then we had the recession. I've learned to weather the storms and be very cautious and conservative of your money. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to show you're selling a lot of real estate. Not that advertising is good. I'm talking about more on the personal side. Like, you don't need the Benz. You can have yourself a Honda and put in the same miles and still make the same amount of money. No one's going to judge you on that. So be conservative, be smart about your property the income that you have coming in, and get yourself ready, because there is a chance that we'll have a slowdown in the coming years. So just be smart about it, because that's how you're going to win the long game. It's not a race, it's a marathon. So basically this is a long-term thing. And if you're really in it because you want to get licensed and want to look at it as a full career, then you have to really know how to work out a schedule and keep money in the sense of the gains that you're making, because a lot of them are they're living the life, and then here comes the hard times, and all of a sudden they're getting rid of half their team, and they're getting rid of everything that they built in a matter of 3 years. So I tend to tell them that just stay conservative and humble and work hard and stay steady. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then my next question would be, what are some of the things that you just absolutely love about real estate?
It's a give and take by saying flexibility, because flexibility means that I'm fortunate enough to drop off my kids, pick up my kids from school, take them if there's an emergency, take them to the, you know, if it's anything involved with children, if you have children or family wise, it makes it very flexible. You could work around the schedule. But on the other side, definitely it can be complicated because, as you know, in your case too, you know, we're on 24/7 every single day, you know, Monday through Sunday. At least I am, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. So I think the good things about this type of job is, yes, the flexibility. The sky is the limit on how much money you could make. It just means how much you want to dedicate yourself to your craft. And second, I mean, thirdly, I would say, I think just I would say it's you're independent, right? You don't have anybody, you know, yelling at you that you have to hit a quota or certain money. You should be your own boss, and your own boss should be yelling at you, which is your own brain. But I would say the independence is probably the big factor for me that I like this. And it's very different from a 9-to-5 job that won't give you that flexibility. You're at that point, you're doing 2 jobs in the same day. And in real estate, you know, you're just basically involved with your own schedule.
Yeah. So this self-discipline is extremely important in this
Yes,
game. That's for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then, so I know you're with Keller Williams. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to hang your license there, or like what are the benefits of working with Keller Williams?
Yeah. So this is a shout out to Kelly Clute. He's an agent in my office, or yeah, he's still obviously with KW, but just right now he went to a different office. But Kelly Clute was someone that I had met through a transaction, and ironically, that's how I knew about KW as a company. But the funny thing is that there's a book, The Millionaire Agent, and not knowing, there's nothing in that book talks about the actual company. But Gary Keller, who's the owner of Keller Williams, he wrote that book, and it's a best-selling book for agents. And there's a lot of agents that, and actually this is very true. If you are interested, if anybody's out there that's an agent or thinking of becoming an agent, I will give you a free book on that one. Actually, that book that he wrote. But the story behind that is that I read the book. Obviously, Gary Keller to me was not something that caught my attention. And in conversation, I had at this point, gone to a lot of the main big franchise that we could name, and this one felt different in the sense that it wasn't about. Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad, but basically, this felt like they were coming from the side of helping, and that to me was a key motivator to decide to go from the real estate company that I was with at the time. It was a very small boutique. Maybe we had 7 agents, so it was very, very small. Independently owned, and I had to move on to a bigger office at that point because I needed to grow. That's really the only issue why I left. But Keller Williams was all about education. And actually, to me, that was a selling point because they really genuinely wanted me to grow by saying, hey, we have free classes for photography to help you with the at the time, how to take better pictures, how to market to your sellers, to market to your buyers. And any other office I would go to, even the most luxury brand companies, as soon as you walked in and I would ask those questions, they would be like, well, let me see if this person can talk to you. And let me check their schedule and they can talk to you. And I was like, wait, that's a little weird. Like I'm trying to come in to this company, and I felt like they were coming from service, basically. And that's key, because in any business, right, it's all about service. It's about how you treat that client into your service. And KW had that. And when I put the two together was Kelly Clute finally said, hey, why don't you come over? We'll invite you to, it was Vegas for their convention. And I got invited to go out there, and we were out there, and where there's 15,000 agents there. And Keller Williams obviously is it's privately owned, but in agent count, we're up there, if not first in the number of agents that we have across the world. And I'm looking at this room and I'm like, where is this office that I don't see it as often as I thought? And here comes the guest, the main speaker, and it's Gary Keller. And I look over to Kelly, I'm like, Kelly, that's the guy that wrote $1 Million Agent. He's like, oh yeah, he's the owner. I'm like, you could have told me that from the beginning. I would have said yes at that moment. But that was, again, one of there was a couple of things that obviously brought me to Keller Williams. I've been very happy with them. They come from the side of education, and that's the reason why I stay with them, because it's all about growing as an agent. And I think it's needed because, in our business, change is the only thing that's constant. So if you don't stay on top of your changing as a person, as you're in your education, in your career, you're going to be in the back. And sadly, we have to be at the top or the forefront of, the experience with a client, because in the world of, Zillow and all these other ways of marketing, it's not the best way. Sometimes it's about your own person and how good you are to translate that to your client so that they have the trust in you to come back to you and to also want to continue working with you. So in a well-rounded circle, I would tell you that that's why I chose KW. They just came from the side of service to help me and the education part.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Good to know. I never really thought with the extra trainings of the photography trainings. That's good knowledge to have, and they have those resources. So that's amazing. And then they sent you guys to Vegas.
Well, that one was,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that one was I mean, I'm sure Kelly Clute had something, that specific agent had something to do with it. But yeah, I did get invited, and I think it was, no joke, almost a year that he was like calling me and saying, hey, let's meet up for coffee. Let's do this. So finally, he got us together, but not knowing that if all he had to do was tell me that book was written by the same guy that owns KW, I would have joined this the next day. But it's just a funny story that we went through.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So I actually have one last question for you. It's a fun one. So besides real estate, is there anything else you're passionate about?
Oh man, you don't want to open up that door. Yes, man. I can, as you can see, I can talk your ear out, but I love history. I love Chicago history. I mean, I'm a huge fanatic of reading anything that I can. I own a couple memorabilia and collectible stuff, like mafia related stuff. Not that I'm related to mafia in any way, but definitely just the old 1920s history. I love cars. I have a 1925 REO sedan, like the crank cars. I have a 1978 Datsun Z, and there's a lot of things I'm passionate about. I love art. That was actually my first thing that I was going to get involved with. So I think that's a problem, because I'm kind of a eclectic collector. So if I'm not doing real estate, I'm talking about cars, history, science, you name it. So I can sit down with anybody and just talk about life, I guess you could say. But very passionate about cars, very passionate about history, and my family more than anything. My kids, my two boys.
Of course, yeah. I get the collecting part for sure. I mean, I got comic books for days, and I'm always collecting something. Like they're like my little addictions. I start liking one thing, and then I got to have it all. Yep. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get it 100%. And then so are you a Chicago native? No, I was born. I mean, it's like, yeah, right. You ask most people, and they say they're from Chicago. No, but to be, from where I grew up, what streets I was in Cicero. I grew up in Cicero, like right off of Austin and 18th. So yeah, I grew up in Cicero. And close enough. Yeah, literally border to Chicago. So yeah, right. It's across the street where I started. For sure. Awesome. All right. Well, great. Yeah, that's all the questions I had for you today. Again, thank you so much for coming on in. This is a really fun one, so I really do appreciate your time. If you want to take the time now to let everybody know what's the best way to contact you if they'd like to hire your services or pick your brain in the future, this is your time to do so. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for doing this with me, and I really enjoyed the interview. But if anybody would like to get in contact with me, you can reach me on my direct phone number at
785-3558, or you can email me at alfansov.sellshomes@gmail.com. So if there's anything I can help you with, reach out, and I'm available to either help you sell or purchase, or just, get an idea if you want to buy an investment property or anything that may catch your attention in real estate.
Awesome. Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, Alfanso, for coming in. This is Dreams to Realty Success. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you very much,
Don't
man.
leave yet.
I appreciate it. Take care.
No problem. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.